Okay, so think back to the last time you opened your phone. And I don't mean for, an urgent email or a calendar alert.
No, not for a reason.
Exactly. That moment where your hand just sort of moves on its own,
hmm
your thumb finds the app, and you just dive in.
And then what happens 5, 10, 20 minutes later? You blink.
And you're deep in some video about medieval shipwrecks or a tutorial for a recipe you will never, ever make.
That feeling, that's what we call doom scrolling. But the real mystery here, and this is what we're going to get into in this deep dive, isn't really why the content is so sticky.
No, it's something else.
It's what are we avoiding? What deep psychological need are we trying to meet when we disappear down that digital rabbit hole?
Exactly. The scroll is just a symptom. So our mission today is to get to the root cause. We synthesize the research, and it seems to always come down to one of four core psychological drivers.
And once you can name that driver, you can sort of pull the mask off the behavior.
And that's when you can choose a different path.
We'll walk through those four drivers using some real-life scenarios and hopefully offer some, actionable steps. The goal is to move from impulse to intention.
And take back your attention.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with, I think, the most common one for a lot of us, avoidance. Specifically, procrastination.
Procrastination.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate master of disguise, isn't it? It rarely looks like you just doing nothing.
No, it looks like you're being productive. Like researching shipwrecks when you have a report due.
Exactly. Let's take a scenario. Let's call her Alice. Alice opens her phone and she tells herself she's just checking the weather. A totally valid, quick task.
Right. Totally justifiable.
But before she even sees the temperature, she's gone. 20 minutes deep into that video essay on medieval shipwrecks, content she doesn't even really care about.
And meanwhile, that critical work assignment is due in 3 hours.
That's the mechanism right there. Her brain sees that assignment as difficult, maybe anxiety-inducing.
And it immediately searches for the path of least resistance.
The easiest escape hatch. And doom scrolling offers this instant, effortless dopamine hit. It requires no thinking.
But wait, why is that a better dopamine hit than, the satisfaction of finishing the assignment?
Because the reward for the assignment is delayed. The scroll offers something the brain loves even more. A variable reward.
Like a slot machine.
Exactly like a slot machine. Every swipe, every refresh is a chance at something new, something stimulating. And that unpredictability, it triggers a much faster, higher dopamine release than the slow, steady effort of a complex task.
So it's not the task we're avoiding, really. It's the feeling that comes with the task. The anxiety, the perfectionism.
Precisely. And we're chasing that immediate chemical reward instead. So for Alice, the solution isn't to just find motivation.
Right, that just begin advice can feel impossible in the moment.
It is. You have to create momentum. So when you feel that pull to scroll, the first step is to just name the thing you're avoiding. Then you break it down into a step so small it feels ridiculous. Alice doesn't need to finish the report. She just needs to open the document.
Or even just write the header.
Yes, write the header and set a 5-minute timer. That's it. That small action creates this tiny burst of momentum, and it's often just enough to break the spell. That heavy fog of anxiety, it just lifts a little.
I love that, making the real task easier to start than the scroll.
Yeah.
Okay, so from avoiding tasks, let's move to avoiding feelings. Second driver, emotional overwhelm.
This one goes a bit deeper. It's often more painful.
So let's imagine a guy named Jake. Jake gets home, and his day has been exceptionally rough.
The presentation bombed.
His boss was passive-aggressive. And then, the final blow, he sees his ex just posted a happy anniversary photo with someone new.
That's a cocktail of anger, grief, self-doubt.
And instead of processing any of it, what does he do? He pulls out his phone and just scrolls. He wants to silence that internal noise.
See, Jake isn't lazy or unmotivated. He's an emotional overload. The scrolling is like a temporary chemical tourniquet. He's just trying to escape feelings he doesn't have the space to process.
So what's happening in his brain and his body when he does that?
Well, with all those high-stress emotions, his sympathetic nervous system, his fight-or-flight mode is on high alert.
And scrolling. It doesn't calm that down.
It does the opposite. It keeps it firing. All that new information, the light, the notifications, it's all stimulus. You're just postponing the emotional processing by overloading your brain. You're building a bigger and bigger dam against a flood that's definitely coming.
So the goal has to be to switch from that high arousal state to the parasympathetic?
The rest and digest state, exactly. And the first step is acknowledgement, not escape. When you feel that urge, you pause. You ask yourself, What am I feeling right now?
And you name it.
Name it. Frustration, sadness, fatigue, and just sit with it for a minute. Then you do one small comfort action that engages your body. A short walk, deep breathing, even eating something warm.
Why does that work?
Because those physical actions activate the parasympathetic system. They signal to your brain that the immediate danger is over, which allows the emotion to stabilize instead of just building up to explode later.
That makes so much sense. It's physiological.
Which brings us to our third driver, because sometimes it isn't about avoiding something difficult inside. Sometimes it's about, well, avoiding nothing at all.
Boredom, the great modern fear.
The great modern fear. Think of Maya. She's waiting for the bus, maybe 4 minutes to kill, no urgent messages. But before the thought is even finished, the phone is in her hand.
We've all been there. Every spare second has to be filled, optimized. Silence feels unproductive.
Yeah, but the research is pretty clear on this. Boredom is where creativity begins.
Really? How so?
When you're not constantly feeding your brain new input, it shifts into what's called the default mode network, the DMN.
And that's responsible for
Self-reflection, planning for the future, and crucially, creative problem solving. It's where your brain connects disparate ideas. When Maya scrolls, she's shutting that whole system down.
She's killing the very space where her best ideas might come from. I do this constantly. Waiting in line for coffee, any little micro gap of time.
It's a habit you have to actively unlearn. The actionable step here is just to notice the trigger, the waiting. And instead of reaching for the phone, just notice your surroundings.
The wind, the sounds, the light.
Just let your mind wander for 2 minutes. And a pro tip here is to try switching from consuming to creating.
Even if you're, terrible at it.
Especially if you're terrible at it. Doodling, knitting, working on a puzzle. When you create, you are actively engaging with the world. You're building something.
As opposed to just watching.
Exactly. Consuming is a passive mental drain. Creating is active mental rest.
That's a huge distinction, creation versus consumption. Which leads us perfectly to the fourth driver, the one that gets us at the end of the day, exhaustion, or as you call it, false rest.
The 2 a.m. scroll, we know it well.
Oh, yes. So let's picture Lucas. He crawls into bed after a long, hard day. He opens his phone, telling himself, I just need to unwind. A few minutes of mindless videos.
And one video turns into 5, which turns into 50. The light is blasting his eyes, his brain is processing rapid-fire information, and suddenly it's 2 a.m. And he is way more tired and wired than when he started.
Right. We confuse that stimulating input with actual rest. But it's not rest if you feel worse afterward. We're giving our brain high-speed novelty when it's crying out for stillness and quiet.
It's cognitive overload masquerading as downtime. True rest means downshifting your brain's activity. Scrolling forces it to keep processing, filtering, reacting.
And it messes with your sleep hormones, right? The blue light.
Increases cortisol, suppresses melatonin. You're literally undermining your body's ability to recharge.
So the solution here has to be a different kind of evening ritual.
It does. Lucas needs to ask himself, what do I really need right now? Sleep, comfort, silence, or more information? The answer is never more information.
So replacing the phone with things that are linear, predictable.
Precisely. A hot shower, calming music without a screen, a physical book, gentle stretching, and the most important, physical action, which is so simple but so hard.
Get the phone out of the bedroom.
Keep it out of arm's reach. Give your brain the physical space and the time it needs to actually decelerate.
So if we pull all this together, what we're really saying is that the impulse to scroll is never random.
Never. It's always an answer. It might be a flawed answer, but it's an answer to a deeper underlying need, a digital pain reliever.
Whether you're avoiding a hard task, an overwhelming emotion, the quiet of boredom, or just the need for actual physical rest.
The scroll is the easiest way out, but it's a self-defeating one.
But once we understand why we're scrolling, once we can name that driver, that's where the power shifts back to us.
Because then you can choose a different response, a more constructive one that actually solves the real problem.
And that is the difference between living on autopilot and living with intention.
You don't have to throw your phone away.
No, not at all. But you can take back your power just by choosing intention over that automatic impulse. And that brings us to our final challenge for you.
The shift begins with just one moment of reflection.
So next time you catch yourself reaching for your phone without a clear purpose, you know that moment the thumb just hovers? Pause.
Don't scroll.
Just set a 5-minute timer and do anything else. Take that tiny first step on the task you're avoiding, name the emotion you're feeling, or just look out the window?
Then, when those 5 minutes are up, ask yourself the real question.
Do I still want to scroll?
That moment, that tiny pause, that's the point where you choose reflection over autopilot. And that's where you take your attention back.